Hello, people. Welcome to another edition of A Dose of Drew. Here is another knife review. This is a Halloween special edition in the black and orange. And we have the tagged out, the Benchmade tagged out in Magnacut and carbon fiber. There is another version that is satin with a green G10. We'll get back to that because it's S45VN. Why they put Cerakote on the Magnacut one or the one with the better corrosion resistance? Well, that's something we'll talk about here in a little bit. Going to bring down the glares here. All right, so let's see if we get that. That might be too much. There we go. We'll get a little bit more. All right, so first things first, let's get some standardized measurements in here. We got the old pink ribbon. So just over 8 inches tip to tail, about 8 1/4, thereabouts. We'll give it close enough. It's just a little bit in there. With about 3.5 inches, just, right around 3.5 inches, maybe just a tad bit over as the crow flies, and about 3 3/4 overall. Now, a couple other things on here. First things first, this is without a doubt one of the lighter large knives out there. Let me get this on for you. It's under 2.5 ounces. Let me tell you, that's light. Just to give you something to compare to, because we'll get into it in a little bit. Paramilitary 2 with carbon fiber scales that are run out is over an ounce more. All right, so let's just get that part out of the way. All right, and since we have it out, let us do a couple of other bits here. And we're going to do a couple more. This one again in Halloween theme with the Para 3 lightweight. Again, orange and black theme. I don't have an orange and black Paramilitary 2, but we do have the all black Paramilitary 2. So, as you can see, much closer to the Para 2, but with more blade length. Definitely more blade length. And arguably the hand space is at least the same. So definitely bigger than the Paramilitary or the Para 3. So it adds a little bit in there. Couple of others to go from here. It is just a blur. And what used to be my favorite blue aluminum. And not just any leak, but a random leak. As you can see. The blur has similar cutting edge, and you could argue that similar hand space, definitely larger than the leak, but you could argue similar hand space, no doubt about it, and many people would not even notice. So there's something to be said there. And a couple of others. Another Benchmade here, the Buggedout. Strangely enough, I don't know how well that's going to come across on camera, but similar in a certain way, similar hand space to a Buggedout, and the Civivi Elementum, as you can see, much bigger than both of those. It has a significant size gap. And as you can see, here it is next to my Wiener. And though it is bigger, my Wiener is both thicker and more massive. And this is it compared to the Wiener Warrior here from the Blade HQ. Strangely enough, it is larger than even the Wiener Warrior. Take from that as you may. All right, so let's get into some of this. The design part. So the design of it is called the Taggedout. It is meant to be part of their hunting series, which is I'm going to address later on. First things first, the design. The clip point full flat grind, thin. In fact, there's a measurement we hadn't taken so far. We zero that. I want to give, if I can get anything that's going to be 93. And I'm doing it on the spot. Oop, battery's going low. 90 92, somewhere between 90 and 92 thousandths. My battery's going low, so we're going to have to give this thing just a hair of a rest. But I also want to get the behind the edge. That might be just a little bit off. This is hard to get right on there. I'm going to tell you, it is somewhere around 14 thousandths. That's about as close as I can get. Still have it be on there. So 14 thousandths or less. 14 thousandths behind the edge. Less than 1/10 of an inch. I mean, this is like 2 millimeter stuff, you guys. This is really, 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 really just... In fact, I want to... Now that I can get it on millimeters. 2 1/3 millimeters right now. So yeah, battery's going low on that one. Calipers have had themselves worn out. So very thin, very slicey, thin behind the edge. A great edge from Benchmade as usual. It is something that doesn't necessarily go in there, but giving a little preview, it is an envelope eviscerator extraordinaire. Very, very good on the slicing. It's a little bit like many of Benchmade's. It kind of traps your hand a little bit into a saber grip for hard, but it fits really good. But unlike, as I was mentioning earlier on the Buggedout, there's not really a space on the Buggedout, not much for you to get your finger up and kind of get some control in there. It's far smaller. This does not. Now it does put your finger a little bit close to that bump right there, but it does give you a little bit of space if you need to get up and do a pinch grip or anything. There's a bit of a flat space. There's just enough of a space. Now you shouldn't, if you're doing stuff like that, you should not be doing heavy work. So while it does put your finger at a risk, you can kind of get your fingernail in there as a shield when you do. So if you're getting up on it, if you're doing more of a light pinch grip, there's really nothing to protect your finger. But again, if you're doing something like chopping, you shouldn't be doing a lot of forward motion that really puts your finger at risk. It's for lighter work. So it does well. Clip point always looks very knifey, very cool, very, very, very knifey. Piercing, all that sort of stuff. It is, as I like to say, a package piercer, right? Shrink wrap slicer, a cardboard carver, and as you saw, an envelope eviscerator extraordinaire. So the design itself, the overall design, this is a Benchmade. This is not Flytanium. This is Benchmade carbon fiber. So, and the thinner spot down here not only works for the fingers, but it also gives you another pinch grip spot right there. Right at the very bottom where you can get a pinch grip, and actually it's not very far. It's right in front of the, let me see if I can get the balance point. The balance point is back here. So the balance point is over your middle finger. So this is control, not power when you choke up, which is really nice. And it gives it a whole lot. I'm purposely avoiding the color scheme. The carbon fiber is Benchmade's fine work. I have an S90V. They have plenty. I have an S90V version of the Buggedout. I should finish that sentence. That has similar work. Very smooth, very well sanded, very well. Everything's knocked down. This stuff feels so smooth. They do an incredible job on their stock basket weave. It's really, really nice. All right, and that comes into the aesthetics of the outline. Look great. Why did you put an orange blade on a black handle, man? That's where I start to come into the aesthetics of this. Why put an orange blade on a black handle? Why? I understand you want to have something like the hunter colors, whereas deer don't see orange, so it just looks like any other red or green color. They tend to be colorblind on that. So yeah, it works really good for like clothing, but this, no. In fact, carbon fiber is not the handle material I'd want on my hunting knife. I hate to say it like this, with Magnacut being the, you know, the steel with the more corrosion resistance and all that stuff, it would have been better off to do a green micarta handle with a satin Magnacut and then give me something like the carbon fiber in the S45VN or even an S90V for the upper one. If you're gonna, because you can put Cerakote on like an S90V, right? Or even an S45VN, you can Cerakote those, and it increases the corrosion resistance to a more usable degree. While Magnacut being that with something that on a handle like micarta that you can get wet, which as a hunting knife or a backup hunter, it would absolutely do and give you good. What this really does well, in fact, let me get back into intended purpose, because the mechanics on this thing, right? It is actually a little bit more controlled for Benchmade, but very, very well tuned. It is literally drop shot with actuation and everything by the. It really, and of course, doing this on camera at the weird angle is always hard, especially when it's this thin and your finger hits the crossbar. For those who don't know, if this thing trying to come out and your finger's right there, it will slow it down because the crossbar rubs up against it when it comes out. So that happens a lot on camera. Happens a lot less when I'm not trying to do it without hitting the camera tripod or anything like that. But that is what it is. So mechanics are pretty good on this. I've never in my life had a bench. I know it happens, but I've just never had a Benchmade that was anything less than fully functional, and not necessarily perfect, but nearly so right out the box. I've been very fortunate and lucky in all of my goings on. And that, again, from several different versions. We'll get back to this in a minute. But that's really where it starts to come into the next part, because the mechanics are good, the design is great, the aesthetics are good. Could go with a different color scheme. The noteworthy points about this: it's thin and light. This is another thin and light. I know there's plenty of people who use something like the Buggedout as a backup, like if you're going hunting or something, because look, if you're going hiking, every ounce literally matters. So yeah, having something small, light, and capable like the Buggedout is there. But with this, they give you essentially a bigger Buggedout, a clip point Buggedout XL, if you will. In fact, if you were to take that swedge off the Buggedout, it's similar blade thickness, but not a full flat grind. Like, this is a larger, more hunting purposed Buggedout in a lot of ways. That's what I look at it as. It is a backup knife to take with you when you go into the outdoors, because it's light and it's easy to carry, and all of that makes so. This has so far been one of the few large knives I've been able to carry in shorts here in Southern California in late summer and all that while I've had it testing it. This is very nice for that, which would make it a great hiking companion or hunting. Quite honestly, if you hunt, you know this already. A lot of your hunting is hiking with a gun. Let's just be real. Unless you sit in a stand, which a lot of people do. I'm not knocking it. Not my favorite kind of hunting. But most pursuit hunting is done with a lot of walking. You do a whole lot of walking and hiking and all that to find the animals. They're as many as they are, they're pretty good at hiding. So all that stuff, it does well. But here's the thing. There's other hunting knives to take with. As I mentioned before, if you just need something that's an all-around backup, the Buggedout is lighter and smaller and easier to carry. If you need something that's a full-on hunter and you want to go Benchmade, I would actually recommend something like the freaking S30V. It's slightly larger. It has a better thumb ramp. It has the ability to get more, and without the clip point, with that drop point that it has, it's going to be a little bit better on the skinning part as far as I'm concerned. So there's other ones in there, and I mean, as long as we're talking about that, quite honestly, if I was looking for a backup large hunting knife, I would probably go for the one named after it. This is, in my opinion, a better one. Now, it is not as light, it's not as easy to carry, but as an actual backup hunting weapon, or hunting tool, I should say, you could do worse than this Ultimate Hunter. It will do well on skinning and processing game and everything else. So, as a hunting knife, I think it falls a little bit short. But, that being said, as a knife that you don't use as hunting, or you use as like food prep, as a camp folder to prep the food, to say you want to try some of the food, let's say you got small game or something like that, you got some fish, this will do that job very well. As a fish type knife, or something where you have food prep, like you're taking some of the strap off of a venison and you're cooking it up in camp. Oh, this is great for that. The ability for you to get up and get long slices on it, and the saber grip is great. The ability to keep your fingers and get your finger up here for simulated surface and get long cuts, right? Keep your hand off that. This is, with also that long flat blade, it's going to be a lot like a kitchen knife where you get great slicing efficiency. So it's got all of that. This is a pocket kitchen knife, and I mean that in all the right terms. The little bit of swedge here will give you some help on softer materials. So as a camping prep food knife, I think that's what this really does, and what it does for its intended. It's meant to be a backup hunting knife. The orange and black is called the Taggedout, which by the time this comes out, which should be on October 31st, there'll be a giveaway that should be coming along. And most hunting seasons are out. There's probably some bow hunting somewhere. I don't know every state's laws. But I do hope that everyone who is lawfully hunting is able to get their limit, and there's plenty of animals, and it is a healthy population. That's always a good thing to see. A lot of their natural predators are gone, so in some places, deer are even a pest. I believe up in the Northeast, up in the New England area, whitetail are a pest to a lot of farms because a lot of their their predators are gone. And so they just populate galore. And so there's a lot of whitetail up there, and a lot of people, to my understanding, who enjoy hunting them, where you can have things like tree stands and whatnot. If you're like me and you're from the West, you're out of Wyoming, the great open spaces and all that stuff, free and fair chase is usually the way I like to go. I'm not a big fan of canned hunts. We'll just go off. We'll just kind of leave that one there. Free and fair chase out there. Bow hunters, to me, do some of the greats, but they also get an extended season. Yeah, there's just a lot of ways out there that you can hunt ethically and legally. And that's what this knife sort of markets itself as part of their hunt series. Honestly, I would say there's there's other knives that do better. This, however, stands supreme in their lineup as a camp kitchen knife. Which brings me to the next part. Even if this is intended purpose, why the orange blade? Is it so you can see it when you set it down? Like, then why have the green one? I don't understand the color scheme other than for people to say, look, it's my hunting knife. It's got Hunter Orange on it. And then you have a really dope anodized orange on here. But there's so many other color schemes. Personally, I think the green micarta should have had the S45VN and the Magnacut in a non-Cerakote, and give me an all-black S90V with the carbon fiber. Would have been perfectly fine. Could have done very well. You probably still would have sold plenty. You'd have sold a lot more Magnacuts and S45VNs. You could have given yourself a three-tiered price scheme where you had the S45VN down low, the Magnacut up higher, and then the S90V with the carbon fiber even higher. Could have given yourself three pricing tiers and gotten the functionality most needed in the models that were most likely to be used on a hunt. It could have been S90V and orange. It would have been fine. You wouldn't have sold nearly as many. And I think they knew that. The only reason they did this orange and Magnacut is because they knew that hunters would probably buy it just on the name. But it's not a bad hunting knife. It's just not as, in my opinion, as well suited to it as some other knives, or as its name would indicate. So, and that's really kind of, I mean, that's intended purpose is to be a backup hunting knife. It does much better as like a camp kitchen knife. That thin blade, that high flat grind, all that sort of stuff. It's sliciness, the Magnacut, so it's always going to have a decent amount of corrosion resistance. It should hold an edge a long time. All sorts of stuff for that. And absolutely none of it needs that Cerakote coating whatsoever. Benchmade does a good Cerakote coating. I really don't want to knock on that. It's just, as you can see, I've used my Super Freak multiple times. It's got lots of marks and scuffs on there. It's been used. The Cerakote holds up to a certain amount. So it does. And again, if you're looking for a really light just backup, the Buggedout's lighter, smaller, and easier to carry. It takes up less space. And when you're hunting and you need to have as much space and weight available as possible to bring, say, an animal out or something, that matters. All right, so, and again, so I think the noteworthy points are everything about it as far as the blade stock. I mean, in this one, the materials, yeah, they do good on the carbon fiber, but again, S45VN, you guys, is a great steel. It's sort of like the Salieri to Magnacut's Mozart. Mozart was great. Magnacut is fantastic. S45VN is a great freaking steel. Like, it's Van X and Magnacut to me right now sit on top of the heap, and S45VN is right behind it. Below that, we start getting things like S90V or S35VN. Leave something down in the comments if you want to hear an actual steel list from me, where I'll manage to put together a top 10. But yeah, there's plenty of great steels out there for different things and different reasons, and ones that strike really good balances. Magnacut right now has it because it does strike such a great balance. But let's not forget just how good S45VN is, simply because we have a great Magnacut. But yeah, either one of those steels is fantastic. Would have been fine. And that brings me to the cost to value ratio, because the Magnacut and carbon fiber, one of the things that Magnacut is really doing right now is it's skewing the cost to value ratio. It's so in demand, it's able to be priced higher. For this, I don't even want to talk. This is the more expensive version. I believe this is around the 300 mark. Whereas the other one was at least $50 cheaper, I believe. I'm going off memory, so my apologies if prices have changed. But they were not inexpensive. They're extremely high quality, well put together, and it has a great color scheme, right? I love that Benchmade is doing these dark screws with just the pop of color. But man, you could have done anything but orange. Or give me, even better yet, put the Taggedout up on the customizer, right? So I can get a blue backspacer and a blue a blue axis lock and no Cerakote on it. It probably won't sell as well. It doesn't have all the panache as some of the others, and it is a far more specific knife. It is better as a general purpose knife than a hunting knife. Backup, quite honest in my opinion. There's other knives that are better for that. It's pretty good all around. If you need to have just one knife and you have a, say, fixed blade for your skinning, and you need just as something to back up that will do more camp cook duty or anything like that, this is a great choice. But the cost to value ratio is way up there. You get the Benchmade for life, right? They will stand behind this. Anything happens to it, break it, you can send it back. You pay a lot for the warranty, you pay a lot for American manufacturing, and it does have really high quality. Very, very well done on that. So it puts it up there. And that's going to put me to the expectations and maybe some requests. I expected this to be really high quality. Benchmade did not falter on the quality. They still do a great job. What I expected is it to be more hunting oriented. And it seems to be, while you can put it there, it's got the crenellations, and that might not be the best, but it's definitely got these sort of ridges to give you some traction in the back of the hand. It's got just enough jimping up here that you can tell where your thumb needs to be and where that is. It's all, but if you're really into hunting and you're looking at this as a backup hunting knife, get the S45 Vienna micarta. You'll have better grip when it's wet with the micarta. And the S45 Vienna has similar edge retention. Well, it might not be quite as tough as the Magnacut, or as not necessarily as corrosion resistant as the Magnacut. You're still going to see quite a bit of value there. It's still better than most other steels when it comes to that. It's going to be tougher and better corrosion resistance than S90V. It's going to be similar toughness to S35VN with better edge holding and corrosion resistance. There's a lot of reasons to like the S45VN version, and with the lower price, you're getting almost the same performance. And in real world performance, probably the single biggest thing you may or may not see with S45VN is the corrosion resistance, but you'd have to leave it in salt water overnight to really see anything. So being able to use it on blood and some other slightly acidic bodily fluids and then rinse this thing off in like a stream or something, guess what? Benchmades will do it. So it will do what it's supposed to. I just expected it. I guess I expected the more expensive version with all the orange to be more hunt oriented, and it's not. And that's actually brings me to my request. Look, if this doesn't work, give us a Buggedout XL that has the drop point blade with the Magnacut S90V, S30V. Give us all that in something that's like a Buggedout XL that's this size, with the blue, with the red, with all the other colors that you can get on something. I mean, I love this blue. This is what I'm talking about when I talk about things like blue anodized. Like that blue is right there. So yeah, that would be the request. Look, fill in this with a drop point like you got kind of on the Buggedout. Maintain the full flat grind. Give me a 3.5 inch Buggedout, and yeah, that would be my request. Take this from Taggedout to Buggedout and make it the extra large version. You'll sell them. And give me Magnacut, give me S45N, give me S90V, just like in the other ones. Give me those three things. You don't have to do the S30V. Do the S45VN as your base. Do the S45VN as the base. Do the Magnacut or the S90V as your upper echelon. There's lots of ways to do it, but that would be my request, because I am not hunter oriented. I would actually prefer to have the scales and everything actually extend out instead of this little narrow part, but it's so far back that it doesn't actually affect the hand. It's just not the way I would go. It is nicely rounded though. The edges there are not sharp, so any lanyard to put on there is probably going to see some actual lifetime on that. But yeah, that would be give me the filled in drop point version of this and call it the Buggedout or the Buggedout XL, or give me something like that, because honestly, that's what this knife deserves. It's very well designed, but it feels like to me they tried to make something that was a large Buggedout and didn't want to do it. I don't know if they just didn't want to mess with the success of the Buggedout or something like that, but more than their other things, I think that's what they could have done. They could have given the large size Buggedout and done outstandingly well and just called it the Buggedout or the large Buggedout or something, and it would be different enough to warrant something else. It would be different enough from the standard Buggedout. It just would. With things like that, with like the pinch parts and all that, giving us sort of Buggedout version 2 or Buggedout or anything like that, that would be my request, because I think this knife would do better for more people in that market, and with that slight drop point that would give everyone, let everyone know it's for everybody, not just the hunters. I'm not saying that it's wrong for the hunters. I'm just saying it would let them know. And that's really good. The design, outstanding. It's really good. They've made some changes to a lot of Benchmade stuff that I think is great. Those things like the pinch points down here. It's narrow but not too narrow. Lots of contouring. Full flat grinds. Full flat grinds. Look, I'll bring it back here. I don't know of many other bug outs with the full flat grind. That one don't have it, right? I don't know of too many other bug outs with the full flat grind. So that's important. And that part of the design is in there. The aesthetics, I do like the clip point. I think it would be just as beautiful if it had a drop point similar to the bug out, but it's still really good, right? If you just filled in that clip point to make it a drop point. The noteworthy points on this is it's Magnacut. It's Magnacut, and it's larger than a bug out while maintaining a similar weight and profile size. That's really what it is. It's a hunter's bug out. And that's really something. And its intended purpose as a hunting companion, I think, while it doesn't fall short, it really is geared more towards the camp knife companion as opposed to the actual meat processing or game processing or anything like that. It will do just fine as a backup if for some reason your fixed blade is broken or you forgot or whatever. This is your backup. You can do it. It ain't going to be pretty, but you can do it. So it definitely is there. The cost to value ratio is not high, but it's not low. You get lots of value. Magnacut, carbon fiber, in this case, the other one, S45VN, and the micarta. You get lots of value. Benchmade's usually stellar, almost always stellar at execution and craftsmanship. And of course, they're Benchmade for life, top of the line warranty, which is expensive for a company to maintain. It really is. I don't know if people understand just how expensive it is for a company to maintain a lifetime warranty on models they no longer produce. So there's definitely value in that cost. And of course, I expected it to be well put together. I expected Benchmade quality. It delivered. I expected it to be slightly more hunting focused than it is, but it's not like it's not. If they hadn't said it was for hunting or called it the tagged out or put it in hunter's orange or something like that, it would just be a nice clip point from Benchmade that they probably should have made more like the bug out, which is still where I find it to sitting. If I take all the tagged out, I take all the coloring away, this is a larger bug out that's been redesigned. Why they won't take a redesign like that, because it could be something that could move them into the smaller bug out 2.0 and use it as a test market, I don't know. Making this a drop point with the swedge, calling it the bugged out, giving you colors, and seeing if this new handle design and the cutouts really take off would give you a test market for a larger knife and for something that you could push to the bug out, giving it a bug out 2.0 or something like that. There's lots of things that could have been done with this knife that they didn't, and I believe that a lot of it has to do with Benchmade just not wanting to really rock the boat with their core market. And I don't necessarily blame them. I just don't think I think there's more willingness for people to see innovation from Benchmade, especially now with the crossbar, with the axis lock patent being gone, so crossbar locks are essentially fair game. Other innovations from Benchmade, just besides their quality and warranty, are something that people are desperately wanting to see from Benchmade. We love Benchmade. There's a lot of people out there who love Benchmade, and especially when they were the only ones that had the crossbar lock, there's still loyal people who believe in the Benchmade warranty and what they do, but we want to see innovation from you. And that's really what I think it is. I don't think making an orange Cerakoted Magnacut blade counts as innovation. It's just not that innovative, you guys. It's cool that we have a fall or Halloween themed hunting knife. Personally, I just believe Benchmade is better than kitschy stuff like that, where it's like, oh look, I've got a shtick, I'm going to make it black and orange and we're going to release it in the fall, call it tagged out, and people will think it's a cool little marketing ploy, but it's short-lived. And having to wait for these all summer and everything really makes it even worse. So that's it. Doesn't make it a bet. I'm going to put this in the 82 range. It would have been better if they'd have made it the bug out. That could put it up in the 90s easily. But right now it's low to mid 80s in the 100-point scale. Still very good. But that's where I'm going to leave it, you guys. This is a really good knife. The way I'm looking at it, get the S45 yen version if you're a hunter. The micarta and the S45 without the Cerakote are going to do just fine. And if you're a regular person, get it if you want it. But if they made this like the Buggedout instead of the Taggedout, I think it would be better. And I'm going to leave it like that, you guys. So yeah, it's really, really good in the 82 to 85 range, depending upon what you're looking at as far as use and all that. So I'm gonna leave there. The Benchmade Taggedout for the Halloween review. Good knife, great knife for a lot of different stuff. It just falls short of their intended marketing purpose. And I think it could have been better if they wouldn't have done that. I'm sure they're seeing a lot of loyalists there. I have a kitchen knife. I'm a big fan of Benchmade's quality and what they do. And I just think they missed a huge possibility of having a drop point that was the Buggedout, that would be the companion to the Taggedout. They may still do it. I think it will sell tons if they do. Give it a slightly more of a sharpening choil there, so you can get a little bit more finger in it, and you have huge sales all day long. There are some things I would like to. There is a little bit with your finger being on the thing in order to hit the deployment hole, as opposed to a thumb stud, right? You can still easily slow roll it, but that's I don't mind the hole over the stud. That we'll just leave that double entendre there for everyone to listen to once again. All right, but with that, I'm going to wrap this up, you guys. This has been the Benchmade Taggedout review here on Dose of Drew. Go ahead, take this video, watch it twice, comment as much as you like, be mindful of side effects. Remember to like and subscribe. This has been your Dose of Drew. I am said Drew, and you guys have a great rest of your night.